15 days to go until marijuana is supposed to become legal in Massachusetts. But the state is throwing a bit of cold water on those ready to spark up. And it turns out the measure does not become law until it's certified. The body that gives that certification, the 8-member Governor's Council, only meets once a week. And according to Secretary of State Bill Galvin, there's a 50-50 chance they'll take it up in time. He blames the holdup on a later than usual election and a delay in getting ballots in from overseas residents and from military personnel. But this could just be the beginning of the holdups on this law. As you may recall, State Treasurer Deb Goldberg threw up a few red flags earlier this month.
I believe that we will need more time. I'd like to see this done right. I don't think there should be rigid deadlines. I think we should take the time to do this correctly.
And she seems to be part of a pro-delay majority on Beacon Hill. But joining me are Will Luzier. He's campaign manager for the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana and Alcohol. It's question 4. It just prevailed. Good to see you, Will. And Heidi Heilman is president of the Massachusetts Prevention Alliance. Good to see you, too, Heidi. Heidi, can I start with you? Why should there be any delay? The people spoke. They voted. It's a law like any other law. Why shouldn't they just implement it?
This was a law that was passed on misinformation. People who had the details of this law knew it was a bad, flawed law and voted no. And those that passed it didn't really know what was in the details of this law. Even the few, very few, maybe 1 or 2 legislators who said, let's pass this, said, let's pass it and then fix it. So we really need to delay, and it needs to be gutted. It was written by the industry and is for the industry.
People voted for this. I mean, say the people who were too stupid, didn't know what they were voting for?
I wouldn't say they're stupid. I would say that they were misinformed. There was a misinformation. I mean, if you see the material that went out, they were aligning it with medical marijuana, where we've already passed medical marijuana.
You know, my understanding is, even if you wouldn't go, I know, as far as Heidi would go, this is a law. It's not a super law.
That's
and
absolutely
laws are to be amended and fixed as our elected representatives deem appropriate. So even again, if you wouldn't go as far as Heidi, I've seen your spokespeople say no changes whatsoever. That's not the rule for any law. Why should it be the rule for this?
True. But Colorado passed their initiative in 2012. They put it into effect in 2014.
Yeah, but you know what
January.
Andrew Friedman says, who's the marijuana czar, quote, we're making the plane as we fly it.
Exactly.
Those are his words exactly.
Now we have the benefit of Colorado, of Oregon, of Washington, of Alaska. We can look at their regulations and have the best regulations in the country.
So you want to do everything through regulation. You wouldn't agree. Are there any changes the legislature proposed? For example, raising the tax. Virtually everybody thinks, except you, the tax is too low. They don't want to raise it too high because they're concerned about black market, but they need more money for implementation. You'll oppose that too?
And it's not only black market, Jim. It's the tax in Maine is going to be 10%. If we raise our tax
You'll
too much,
oppose it at all? Any tax increase you'd oppose?
We want to make sure that the program pays for itself. And
so what's the answer to my question? You'll oppose any tax increase?
We want to make sure that the program pays for itself.
Heidi, example to me, the Globe has a story tomorrow. Josh Miller's running a story in the Globe, which shows to me what I consider to be the bad faith on the part of the legislature. Stan Roseberg, who supported the question, Senate President, said, let's use some money from the stabilization fund to get $20 million for startup here. And apparently the governor and Deb Goldberg don't like that. That's the same place where the legislature got $20 million, according to the Globe story, to get the casino commission started. It was good enough for casinos because the legislature liked that. It's not good enough for marijuana because the people decided to pass it, not the legislature. Doesn't that prove bad faith to you?
But let's get this straight. Rosenberg said before this law passed, let's pass it and fix it. We just passed the worst law, marijuana law.
But you're not answering my question. I mean, if it turns out that it was okay to take $20 million out of the stabilization fund to start the casino commission, why isn't it okay to borrow $20 million from the stabilization fund to implement this law?
But that doesn't answer the problems. That doesn't answer how we're going to fix this law. This law has major, major problems with it, and it's not just the taxes. We're talking about the black market, but what happens with black market is Andrew Friedman, and you heard him say this at the Kennedy Institute,
he did.
Was that the marijuana home grows were their biggest problem. We have that piece here that's going to unroll
So why can't they fix that? They have
December
14
15th.
months until there's retail sales. Why can't they fix
that? That starts to roll out December 15th. People can grow up to 12 plants in their home, 6 per adult. Now, wait a minute. That brings us to where we're going to be the stronghold of the black market on the whole eastern seaboard,
Heidi,
because we're a magnet for people to come in.
I used to do ballot questions for a living. Here's my sense of history. In 2012, the voters opted 2-1 for medical marijuana. It was 30 months before one dispensary opened. Today, 4 years later, they still haven't complied with the law because the legislature didn't like it. I'm not quarreling with your arguments, but isn't it clear the legislature just wants to thwart a law that they don't like?
Not at all. This marijuana is an educational-based issue. It's based on education. You don't pass drug law and drug policy based on public opinion. You got to look at the public health
It's a law. The
fallouts.
Constitution says the voters have a right to pass a law.
And that's the problem with ballot initiatives.
Well, lastly, aren't you a bit of the problem? Again, I want to get back to where I started before. You wouldn't answer the question about taxing. It seems to me you're taking a rigid position that the legislature, which was elected by the public to, again, make laws and improve laws, make them better, you're saying they shouldn't do their job. Are you not?
We sat down with Senator Rosenberg this week. We had a frank and discussion of.
Do you agree to any changes to the law?
Not with him, not then.
With anybody?
Will
you fight any change?
We understand that the legislature can change this. We want to make sure that the will of the people is carried out to the letter of the law.
Can I try one more time? Will you oppose any change that the legislature
No,
proposes?
absolutely not.
You will not. You might agree to some changes.
Absolutely.
On that note, we'll leave. Will, thanks. Nice to see you. Heidi, great to see you again.
Thanks
so
for
much for
having
your time. I
me. Take
appreciate
care.
it.